All right. It says we're live. It says everything's working. So let me get disclaimers out of the way. With some people chatting already, we'll get right into it. This is a weekly live broadcast. Again, pretty much every Thursday evening, 7 o'clock Central. This is where I am. You can come in here and ask questions. You can, just chat about whatever you want to chat about for the most part. I do my best to respond to all the chat that comes in during the live broadcast. Although I haven't been good about responding to comments lately. If you have a question, you need to get it answered, this is a good place to do it. If I can't answer it, generally somebody that's in here in the chat can get an answer out to you. Like I said, we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about, but do keep it family friendly. Be polite. Don't be hateful. Don't cuss at anybody. Don't, start being rude or anything like that. We can have disagreements, have good friendly debates. Those are fine, but you don't need to hate somebody for a difference of opinion. You don't need to be rude to them or anything like that. We'll kick you out if you get too hateful with us. All right, let's jump into it. Hopefully everything's working. It looks like it's going. We got a lot of people here. We got Verna with the first like, and Dawn is here. Good to see you, Dawn. Who's that? Vernon Eiler, I think it is. Joy Guthrie, good to see you too. Emma Ball, hello. David Bringleson, I think it is. Bringleson, maybe? Bringleson, probably. Good to see you too. David Lister's here, says, well, not the first or the second like, but we do all like you. Jacob Wolf says, hey, all. And let's see who else we got here. Emma Ball, good to see you. Jacob Lefave, maybe. Hello to you, too. Got Don Skin from South Mississippi. All right, we got to get into it. We got Marty here saying hello to everyone. If you guys can hear in the background, I got chickens. Chickens came in the mail. We got the meat chickens ordered, and they're here. They just came in today. I didn't expect them till the weekend, but they came in today. Colton wants to know, how do you know if your bunny is pregnant? Well, it's incredibly difficult to really be able to tell. You can try palpating them, but that's really, really hard to do. And it's kind of, there's still some guesswork in that. It's not always real easy to tell. There's no real for sure sign necessarily. A lot of the times, Jacob says I pronounced his name right. That's good. I'm glad. I don't usually do that. Anyway, let me grab a drink here real quick, and then we'll get back into that. Where was I? Okay. So a lot of the time, I mean, not always. Sometimes you'll see a rabbit change their attitude once they're pregnant. So they may be like, they were kind of grumpy and now they're just a little bit more mellow, or the vice versa. They were really mellow and now they're a little bit more grumpy. Those kinds can be kind of signs of it. If you suspect your rabbit is pregnant, I'm assuming you tried to breed. You're not sure if it took or not. Just count it as take. I mean, if there was a fall off, if you had the successful fall off from the male, bet that she's pregnant, count on it 28 days later, 27 days, somewhere right around in there. Throw a handful of straw in the cage. If she picks it up and, it's hanging out both sides of her mouth, it'll be pretty obvious. She'll be wandering around the cage looking for a place to build a nest. Put a nest box in there and count on babies coming in the next couple of days. That's really about all you can do, is just be prepared and just hope for the best. And then, if it doesn't, if you've given her I'd say till about day 35 or so, and she hasn't given birth, then you can go ahead and try to rebreed her again. Hopefully that helps a little bit. Let's see who else we got here. Trisha, hello to you. Billy Glass, good to see you. Emma says, good to see you too. Thank you. I guess I say good to see you. I can't actually see you guys, but you know what I mean by that, right? George says, hey, Chris and everyone. What else we at here? Jacob Wolf says, my dog gave us 8 wonderful, my doe, not my dog. This makes more sense. You read it, my doe. My doe gave us 8 wonderful kits yesterday morning on day 32, all alive and well. Mom did great cleaning up and covering them. I've been checking them this morning and had their milk bellies, so she's feeding them. Yep, fantastic. That is good news. Congratulations on their litter. 8's a pretty good size litter, bigger than what I had with my does. And it sounds like everything's going well. That's always good to hear. David says 71 fertile jumbo white wings incubated with 60 hatched. One happy guy. Yeah, I don't blame you. 60 out of 71. That's a great hatch rate. So well done. Joy says, just got my small freezer put in at the barn, but the cord is 2 feet short of the plug-in. Oh, no. You could probably get a new cord for it. This is not terribly hard to change those cords out usually. But you probably check with home box store like Lowe's, Home Depot, something like that, whatever you got in your area, And I'm betting that they have probably a longer cord. That would be my guess. Verna says sometimes a doe can become destructive when she's pregnant. Sometimes, not always though. Most of the time, my rabbits, their behavior doesn't change at all. There's no way of knowing it. Just all of a sudden, one day they have babies. That's it. Jacob says, long time watcher of your videos. First time I've seen a live because I realized today I wasn't subscribed. Well, thank you very much for joining us for the live. I appreciate that. Hopefully, and thank you for watching the videos too. That's very helpful. Hopefully you found them helpful and enjoyed them, and I appreciate it. Joy says, way to go, David. Yeah, I agree. Way to go. Emma says, question, one of my quail lost the tip of its beak a couple of days ago. Not sure how it happened. Not bleeding now. Someone suggested clipping the bottom beak. Do I, and how far back? Okay. If the bird's eating just fine, there's no real reason you absolutely need to do it. You could clip the bottom beak if you want to. It's kind of like clipping like toenails on a dog or something. Excuse me. You're looking for basically, the very end of the beak's going to be kind of white. You don't want to clip back past that white part, that kind of clearish, opaque white part. It's kind of like I said, your dog's toenails when they grow out. Hopefully you've had that happen, so you know what I'm talking about. The white part, you don't want to get back into the quick of the nail, and same thing with the bird's beak. You don't really want to clip back past that. I don't know that it's absolutely necessary. Without looking, it's hard to really know for sure. But if the bird's eating just fine, it may look funny, but it's not really that big of a deal. It's probably going to be okay. George says, I was replacing the food in one of my cages. A quail made a run for it, and in a panic, I gripped at it with my two smallest fingers. It flapped, and its legs snapped, i.e. broken leg. Oh, no, I'm sorry to hear that. That is unfortunate. Billy Glass says, most females get mean and ask for pickles and ice cream around 1 a.m. and then starts crying when you don't go. There you go. Show Me Bunnies and More says, good evening. Hoping you're having a good one, everyone. It's pretty good here. Hopefully you are too. Reactiverse says, I put my 2-week-old quail out in my small run for 2 hours. 2 died. Be careful with how soon you take them out. Okay, 2-week-old quail. Put them out in the small run for 3 hours and 2 died. So I'm not sure. I mean, that sounds, I'm surprised that 2 died, honestly. At 2 weeks old, they're probably fully feathered out unless there was a significant change in temperature. Like it was super warm where you had them in, you took them out into like pretty cold environment or something like that. And they weren't used to that. They weren't weaned off the heat yet. I'm kind of surprised, honestly. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you don't necessarily want to throw them outside before they're ready. You need to wean them off the heat for sure. Usually by, it's been pretty chilly here the last couple of days. So if you've got the same weather as we do, I mean, we were getting down in the mid 30s at night and only getting up in like the mid 50s during the day. And that's pretty chilly for a 2-week-old bird if they're used to 99, 100 degree temperature. Let's see where we at here. Caesar Reyes, good to see you. Sims Family Homestead says, first like, love the quail videos. I'm not sure if you were the first or not, but I appreciate it either way. And I'm glad you enjoy the videos. Thanks for watching them. Caesar says, and hello to everybody else too. Colton says, okay, thank you so much for that. It helps a lot. I'll put some straw in there tomorrow or something. All I can do is wait. Yep. Is it coming up on time for, I don't know how long ago she was bred, so I don't know what your time frame is. Like, what day are you on waiting? You don't want to put the nest box in too terribly early. They could start using it as a litter box. But again, just throw a handful of straw in. If she picks it up, and it'll be pretty obvious. It won't be just nibbling on it. You'll know what I'm talking about because she'll gather it. She'll start gathering it up in bunches, hanging out both sides of her mouth. And when that happens, go ahead and put the nest box in. And then just do that every day when you start getting close. Around day 27-ish, start. And if she doesn't do it that day, try again on the 28th. Try again on the 29th. Try again on the 30th. And as soon as she starts doing that, throw that nest box in there. George says, now the leg is 3 times the size of the other leg. Has anyone else ever had this happen? This type of accident happen? Do I need to amputate the leg or will it just heal? It's still looking well. It's still looking well apart from the leg. You could do it a couple of different ways. If it was me, Agreed says cool quail videos. Thank you. I appreciate that. If it was me, I'd probably cull the bird, go ahead and put it in the freezer. I mean, I don't want to see him suffer. And they don't really necessarily show signs of suffering With that being said, quail are pretty tough. I've seen them come back from some pretty rough injuries. So, if it's getting around okay, I mean, I don't know, you may just let it go. I don't think I'd try to amputate the leg, though. That sounds hideous. I think I would go ahead and eat it before I would try to amputate the leg. We'll let somebody else give some advice and see what they've got. Emma says the bird's eating fine. The top beak went past the quick. Yeah, that sounds like a pretty painful injury. But again, it's probably going to be fine. If it's eating fine, I wouldn't worry about it too much. If it's eating and drinking fine. Don says to George, says, dispatch it and take it out of its agony. In about 3 days, it will start getting gangrene. It could. I mean, that's probably what I would do. But, I'll leave it up to you. Jacob Wolf says to Colton Smith, says, breed once, looking for 2 to 3 fall-offs, 8 to 10 hours, leave in for 15 to 30 minutes, looking for 2 to 3 fall-offs, pull her out, reintroduce 6 to 7 days later, same process to prevent false litters. I'm not sure what that was a response to exactly, but that was a response to Colton, but it's about breeding him, I guess. Jacob says, oh, absolutely. You were 100% the reason I got into quail, but due to things out of my control, I had to get rid of them for a bit. But I'm going to be getting back into them again. Well, awesome. Glad to hear that. You guys may notice the heat lamp behind me just kicked off. So if you see lights coming on, going off, that's what it is. You can almost see the chickens in the brooder, 40 of them. It's more than I needed, honestly. It's probably more than my tractor can handle. I'm not sure exactly how we're going to do that. But it was cheaper to get 40 than it was to get 30. I don't know, some kind of special deal through Tractor Supply and it was at Hoover Hatchery, I think it is, who goes through them. It was a special deal on a 40 pack, and it was cheaper than buying a 30 of them. So anyway, I got 40. Figured if we lose a few before they get out to the tractor, we're okay. Spirit Mouse says, Chris, in your experience, what is the chance of a runt kit survival in a litter of bunnies? Usually, I don't have very many losses at all. I mean, it depends on what you mean by a runt. I mean, how tiny it is, how big the litter is, all those kinds of things. But if it's a decent sized litter, I'd say, if it's under like 10, then chances are pretty good. Now, if it's over 10, it's hard to get a litter of over 10 without losing at least one or two, and chances are it'd be the runt. But, it's hard to say for sure. Show Me Bunny says, oh no, George, I just had the same thing happen to me, but I grabbed the fishing net and chased him around and finally got him back. Yeah, I've had birds get out before. They usually don't go very far. They kind of have a pretty good flight the first leap, and then it's kind of not quite as good, and then not quite as good, and then they're just worn out. So I just follow them around until they wear out, and then I pick them up. Or my dog catches them, one or the other. George says, Don S., really, it's been about 3 days and the leg is fading in color, i.e. not red anymore. I'm hoping it'll improve. It's only 4 weeks old, too small for the pot. Oh, it's only 4 weeks old. Well, I mean, if it seems to be improving, maybe you didn't break it. Maybe it's just a spring or something. I don't know. Reactiverse says there was DE in the dust bath. Could have been respiratory failure. What are we talking about? Did I miss your other comment? Did I fail to respond to one? I may have. If I missed your comment, I'm not sure. So did you lose a bird? Is that what we're talking about? You lost a bird? Explain to me what you're talking about, and I'll try to address it again. But yeah, DE, if you say there's DE in the dust bath, diatomaceous earth, it can cause respiratory issues in birds. It's not really advised to just leave it laying around in the dust bath. It's not really good for that because you could definitely cause some issues with that. Verna's saying that she had that happen recently, talking to Spirit Mouse, says, I had that happen recently, and the runt is still alive 2 weeks later. Yeah, usually they'll make it. And then Spirit Mouse wants to know if you did anything special, or did you let nature handle everything? Yeah, I just let them go. I let them see how they do, and hopefully they make it. Usually they do. You lose one every once in a while. Ed Got Bait says, hey, Chris, glad you didn't get hit by the bad weather. No, it wasn't too bad, actually. I mean, it came down. Oh, excuse me. It was about 9 o'clock, about the time I was going to bed. And I checked the weather real quick before, because it hadn't done anything all day. They'd been calling for severe storms up to 2-inch hail and, possible tornadoes and that kind of stuff all day. But it hadn't done anything. It was really calm all day long. And then about 9 o'clock, about the time I'm going to bed, check the weather, and I'm like, we got the storms coming in. They're going to hit here in about 20 minutes or so. So I decided I'm just going to stay up for a little while and let the front pass and see how bad it is. It won't be that late. So about an hour, about 10 o'clock at night, it was past, and it really wasn't that bad. It was just, I mean, we had some wind, lots of lightning, and some heavy rain, real heavy rain for a little while. Then just passed over. It wasn't a big deal. Colton says she is due on the 6th, if I'm positive. So yeah, you're right on track then. Yeah, I'd definitely start taking some straw out there, putting it in there. See how she reacts and go from there. Verna says, Spirit Mouse Media, I didn't know she had a runt until it just jumped out of the nest box, LO, half the size of the litter mates. Yeah, sometimes they'll do that. Colton Smith says, Jacob Wolf, thank you. If she does not have any, I will have to try that. So that was in response to like the put her in, wait for fall offs, try again the next day, wait for fall offs kind of thing. David Lister says, Chris, have you ever tried Cuttlebone on your quail? I've not tried them, but I have used them on parakeets. No, I've never put them in. I've never really found it necessary. Sometimes, the birds, their beaks get overgrown a little bit occasionally, but it's usually, they're usually pretty old by the time that happens, and it's about time for me to process them and switch them out for new breeders usually anyway, so I just don't worry about it. I don't mess with it. But you could definitely try it if you wanted to. And Verna's saying, I would put the nest box in now, talking to Colton. I would put the nest box in now if she is due on the 6th. Yeah, it's not a terrible idea. You could do that. Spirit Mouse Media says, one of the bunnies is about half the size of the rest. It's a litter of 6. Yeah, I think it'd be fine. Verna's saying the same thing. I would let it be, let nature take its course, or let nature take care of its own. Yeah, I think it's going to be fine. I wouldn't worry. I wouldn't do anything special. I'd just leave it in there and let the mother take care of it. Chances are that's its best chance of survival anyway. Desert Homestead says, hey, Chris, I have a similar setup to you. Wire nest box with straw hay is above the J feeder. How do you introduce hay to babies? 2-week-old now. I saw them nibble on the straw and was just wondering when and how. Just whenever they're ready, just put hay in there like you would normally, and whenever they're ready, they'll start eating it. They will, as soon as they get out of the nest box, they're going to start nibbling on mom's food and stuff like that, and you don't have to do anything. Just let them do it when they're ready. That's all. Just keep the hay in. If you're putting hay in there all the time for the mom, just keep doing it. It's going to be fine. Now, what you don't want to do is just take all their food away and introduce them to a whole bunch of greens, or introduce them to a whole bunch of greens if they're not already acclimated to that. If it wasn't part of the mom's diet already, you don't want to do that. You don't want to make a big diet change with them. But as far as you don't have to withhold hay, just if you're giving hay to your rabbit, keep giving hay to your rabbit. When the babies are ready, they'll start eating it, and it'll be fine. Colton says, so how many days does a bunny stay pregnant? I kind of don't trust Google. It's about 30 days. Most of the time, you can count on them right around day 30. Some days 29, some day 31. But right around day 30 is what you're looking at for the time that they're going to give birth. Spirit Mouse wants to know from Verna if that runt caught up to the rest of the litter eventually. Usually they will. When they grow out, they're going to grow out about the same size, but sometimes it takes them a while longer. George says, show me bunnies and more. Looks like I'll have to buy a butterfly net, buy a fishing net. That'll be better. That's a little more sturdy, and usually you get a longer handle on those. Let's see. Jacob Wolf says, how quick does a buck replenish his man juice? I need to get all 3 of my does bred around Memorial Day, and I'm trying to figure out how much of a break that buck needs in between to keep his man mayo up. Well, that's a creative way of saying it all. But Verna says, give him an hour. Yeah. Usually, they could probably service 1 to 2 does a day, I would say. I would probably give them at least, I'd service maybe one doe and then another one the next day and another one the next day. Reactiverse says, what are your thoughts on the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight? I have no thoughts at all on it. I think I saw something vaguely about that, but I haven't been paying attention. So Mike Tyson's pretty old now, but still, I don't know who the other guy is. I don't know Jake Paul. I don't know who he is. I just remember Mike Tyson because he was fighting back in the late 80s, early 90s, somewhere right around in there. It's probably midnight. No, it was late 80s, early 90s. He was fighting, and that's been 30 years ago. So, he's going to have a hard time, I would think. But he's a big boy, so who knows? I don't know. But I haven't watched anything about it. I can't tell you. I can't give an opinion. David Lister says, our 5-week-old kits got out of the nest box. I put them back in only to find that we had 6 kits instead of 5. Yeah, that's happened to me plenty of times. Usually what I find is right about, somewhere around 10 days old, the babies end up out of the nest box. I put them back in. They're out again the next day. I put them back in. And usually that goes on for about 3-4 days. And then by the day, 3 or 4 days later, they're able to get in and out on their own, and I don't have to worry about it anymore. Emma says, question, how long does the mesh floor last in your coops before you replace them? You're talking about the hardware cloth floor on my quail cages, I'm assuming is what you're talking about. Years. I mean, I don't think I've replaced them at all since I built those hutches, and that's been a long time. So yeah, it lasts a long time. Now, I did have problems when I first built my first hutch, and maybe the second one too. I don't remember. I think it was. But when I first built it, I ran the hardware cloth all across the bottom, and then I put a piece of plywood under half of it to make it a solid bottom for the sandbox. And right there where that plywood was, the box was basically, that hardware cloth rusted out. And it was a little bit of a problem on that. But the rest of it was fine. I didn't have any problems with the rest of it. So I did have to kind of fix that a little bit. Tanya says, I just got 90 jumbo wild eggs in the mail today from Zach. I can't wait to get back in. I miss them eggs. Awesome. Well, good luck with your hatch. I hope it goes well. Mike B says, hope everyone's having a good night. So far, I am. Hopefully you are too. Verna says to Tony, let them rest overnight before you put them in the incubator. Now, that's not a bad advice. I always do that with shipped eggs. Let them just kind of sit next to the incubator, kind of rest before putting them in. Joyce says, I used to entertain my neighbor when one of the rabbits escaped. My tiny dog would chase it with me behind, usually with a salmon net, usually in shorts and black rubber boots. Yeah, my wife went out to play with the baby bunnies. This has been a couple of weeks ago, but she went out. She got them out of the cage. You got one of them out of the cage or whatever to check it out. And they were pretty small at the time, only just a couple of weeks old. And it jumped out of her hand and took off and got in the neighbor's yard, finally came back. She had a big, I wasn't even home, so I couldn't help her. She had to go chase it down. Joyce said, I already read that one. Reactiveness says, I have 6 surviving quail out of my last hutch. 4 ended up being jumbo and 2 are much smaller. Will this be a problem as they grow out? So I'm not sure what you mean by will this be a problem? I mean, are you saying, so you said you had 6 surviving quail out of your last hutch or latest hatch. There we go. 4 ended up being jumbo and 2 are much smaller. So yeah, chances are they're always going to be much smaller. I would, put those as meat for the freezer, wouldn't keep them as breeders because you don't want to pass on those smaller genetics. If that's what you mean by will that be a problem, it probably will be. It's not necessarily a problem. I mean, they're still birds. They're still fine. They probably won't grow out to the full size of the other birds. They'll probably always be a little bit smaller. Emma says, great. Question, great. Do you wash it down or just sweep it out? I've seen a photo today of a floor falling through due to rust, and she lost all her birds to the dog. Oh my gosh, that's terrible. No, I never wash my quail hutch. I don't even, the wire, I don't really even dust it. I mean, I don't do anything. It's fine. I do keep an eye on it though. If it looks like it's going to be right, I mean, I'll replace it, but I haven't had to yet. The sandbox, I do scoop out. I have a screen, and I've shown this on video several times, but it's just I think it was a window screen for an RV. It's only, there we go. Get up here, like this wide or so, and about yay long. And I just scoop up the sand and sift out the droppings and dump them in the wheelbarrow, and then they go to the compost pile. But that's all I do. I don't. And I might clean out some cobwebs or something up in the corners, get that stuff cleaned out every once in a while. But for the most part, that's it. I don't wash my quail hutches down. Verna says, reactivers only if you are planning to breed them all together. Only problem you'll have is that they'll get smaller. Yeah. I would keep those from your breeding stock for sure. Jacob says, does anyone give their rabbits black oil sunflower seeds, old-fashioned oats, or barley? I've heard giving them sunflower seeds 3 to 4 weeks before a show really helps the coat shiny, and barley firms the flesh. Well, I have never tried to give barley. I've given sunflower seeds to them before. They like them. They're high fat. I mean, everything like sunflower seeds. But I don't do it on a regular basis. It's a little bit difficult to try to keep up with, and I don't show my rabbits, so I'm not really too worried about that. Maybe somebody else can speak to it a little bit. I can't speak to the barley. I'm not familiar with that at all. Reactiverse says, will they fight with each other? I mean, because some of them are bigger and some of them are smaller. Maybe, but it probably has nothing to do with their size. Sometimes quail just fight with each other for whatever reason. But that's not just because ones are smaller, ones are bigger. That's not really an indicator that there's going to be some kind of aggression between them. I wouldn't worry about that too much. Tony says that's the plan, Verna, tomorrow night. I'm not sure what the plan is, but hopefully it goes well, whatever it is. Warchild says hello to everybody. Hello to you. Mike B says it's been a long time since I was last here. We moved from a tiny place on Long Island to an acre in western PA. We're getting boar goats on Sunday for my daughter to show for FFA. Well, awesome. Sounds like a good move then, and hopefully that goes well. I wouldn't mind having some goats. I don't know that I'll ever get them, but I mean, I can only do so much here and get away with it. So I don't know that I'll ever do it, but I wouldn't mind having some. David says our 6 Checker Partridge chicks are 10 weeks old. Looking forward to doing a taste comparison next month between partridge and quail. 10 partridge eggs in the incubator right now. I'm betting the partridge taste a lot like quail. I'm betting they're pretty similar. But who knows? Let us know. Louis says, just upgraded my fridge incubator controller to XM18S. I don't know what that is, but hopefully it works well. Colton Smith says, so I put a little bit of straw in the cage and she was eating it. So does that mean don't give her the nest box or to her, or does it mean she is not pregnant? Well, it doesn't necessarily mean anything. As far as not being pregnant, that's pretty common behavior. A lot of the times, I mean, every rabbit's a little bit different. Some of them will start hay stashing like days before they ever build a nest or ever want the nest, ever have their babies. A lot of my rabbits, it's like once they start hay stashing, it's probably going to be that night or the next day that she has her babies. So it doesn't really necessarily mean anything. You've got 2 days till the 6th, I think you said, was when she's due. If she's not hay stashing by tomorrow, I'd go ahead and put the nest box in just in case anyway. Joe Sandy says, hey, everybody, checking in late tonight. Busy building my SR. I think that's slightly rednecked Hutch. Well, awesome. Hopefully that's going well. And it's okay. You can be late if you want to. You don't even have to show up. We don't keep attendance here. It's not going to hurt our feelings if you can't make it one night. It's all good. Verna says, I give oats right after a doe burrs to help with milk production. Yeah, I've never done that. Never had a problem, but it's not bad practice. Joe Sandy says, Chris, have you ever moved your hutch? If so, how many people does it take? Yeah, which hutch are we talking about, my rabbits or my quail? Because, my quail hutch, easily 2 people. It's not hard. It's not that heavy. It's heavy, but it's not that heavy, and 2 people can move it. My rabbit hutch, I got my son and one of his good friends to come over, young boys, like 20, 21 years old, 22 years old. And between the 3 of us, it was a chore to get it out there. I had to walk a little ways, set it down. Pick it up, walk a little ways, set it down. That was heavy. But the quail hutch is not too bad. 2 people, we could carry it. My wife and I have carried them before. Let's see. Joe Sandy says, my chicks are 9 days old today and doing great, but wow, are they messy. Yeah, birds in general are messy. I've got 40 chickens in the brooder right here, and they are messy indeed already. They've only been in there a couple hours. Joe Sandy says, I need to get this hutch done so they can go outside soon. Hey, I understand. It always takes longer than you expect it to, doesn't it? Colton says, okay, thank you. You're absolutely welcome. Quails for you says, I live in Arkansas. Is it okay to move my 2-week-old quail out to their brooder or out of their brooder to the outside? They're fully feathered, but the weather is crazy here. Day 70, one day 70, and the next low is 40. Yeah, you might give them another week and make sure you got them off the heat lamp for that week. I don't know where your brooder box is, if it's like in your garage or an outbuilding somewhere or something like that. Wean them off the heat, make sure, and give them maybe another week, and then you should be able to move them out. Joe Sandy says quail. So yeah, the quail. Okay, yeah. With 2 people, we can move it. It's heavy, but it's not that heavy. I will say something though. Make sure you have the doors secured, because we moved that hutch one time, my wife and I didn't have the doors completely secured. When we went to set it down, the door swung open, smacked my wife on top of the head. That was not good. Verna is saying quails for you. If they have spent a week without the heat, then they will be fine, but that usually isn't until the 3rd week. Yeah, I'd give them another week before I moved them out too. Reactiverse says, I had rabbits that would pluck their fur and go dig a hole right before they give birth. A nesting box was unnecessary because it didn't have a wire in the bottom. The nest was 1 foot down, 2 feet over. Oh, what now? Maybe. Let me read that again, because I'm kind of lost on that one here. So, okay, you had rabbits that would pluck fur and dig a hole right before giving birth. That's pretty common. That's all rabbits will do that for the most part. My rabbits tend to not pull any fur until right when they have their babies. But yeah, plucking and digging a hole. I mean, if they had dirt, they would dig a hole, but they're in a cage, so they don't. But you said a nesting box was unnecessary because I didn't have a wire on the bottom. The nest was 1 foot down, 2 foot over. Yeah. So you had them on the ground, I'm guessing. Yeah, that's pretty common behavior for them. That's what they would do for sure. David says to Joe Sandy, quail are magic. They can poop more than they eat. That is the truth, isn't it? Jacob says to Joe Sandy, if you think those are bad, get some ducks. Messiest animals I've ever seen or had to deal with. Yeah, I've heard ducks are really messy. I haven't actually raised them, so I don't know. But Steve says, my quail started laying eggs a week ago. Yesterday, I had a rubber egg laid. Is that from nutritional or not mature enough? It just happens sometimes. It's not an indicator of anything. Unless you're getting them like all the time, it's not an indicator of anything. Sometimes they do, and it is more common. You're going to get those like when they first start laying, whether that's because they just came of age or they took a break because of light. The days were so short and the light kind of went down, and now they're starting to lay again for the season. Then you'll tend to get more of those, but it's not an indicator of anything. Pardon me. Let's see. Joe Sandy says, Jacob, I have 2 ducks, but they don't do their messing in my house, and our pond keeps a lot of their mess contained. But yeah, messy. Yeah. Let's see. Jacob says, I'm building a 3-stack quail cage with egg rollout, and I'm super excited for it. And I'm designing a new style feeder that I haven't seen done yet, so I'm almost never have to go into the cage. Awesome. Sounds like a nice setup you got going there. S.O. Swanson's here, says hello, Chris, and all from Mississippi Delta. Hello to you, too. Thanks for joining us. And then we're out of comments. And again, this is a time where I should have something planned to talk about. But I already talked about the chickens. Chickens came in early. Got the email that they were going to be here by Saturday. And so I thought, well, I got, tomorrow night or something, I can go get the brood ready. No, they came in today, like noon today. They called, the post office calls me. Says, hey, are we ordering chickens? I'm like, yeah, I ordered chickens. He said, I can hear them chirping in the background. So I was at work. Luckily, my wife was off work, so she went and got the chickens for us and got them in the brooder and went and got some food for them because I didn't have any of that ready to go. I was slacking. But they're all situated now. Let me roll back and check on them real quick while the comments are coming in slow. Yep, they're doing fine. Going to have to refill their water here in a little while, but other than that, they're doing fine. All right. Joe Sandy says, Chris, did you use coated hardware cloth or just regular? The coated stuff is pricey. Yeah. I used regular hardware cloth. Now, if you can get, I built these years ago, so, I don't even know if they had coated hardware. I'm sure they did, but I didn't know about it at the time. If you are going to use coated wire, just get enough to do the flooring with. You don't need to do the walls or anything else with that. And it is better. It is better to use coated wire. But I really don't have any problems with regular hardware cloth. I don't have all the feet problems that other people kind of report on. I've heard a lot of people say that, regular hardware cloth causes bumblefoot and leg problems and all those kind. I don't really have those issues. I've never had a case of bumblefoot. I have had a bird that kind of limped around for a couple of days, probably got a toenail caught in the wire or something like that, but I don't know. But they always get over it just fine. It's never a big deal. Emma says, are you looking forward to the upcoming eclipse and cicadas? Yeah, I haven't really gotten too excited about the eclipse. I need to get some let's see, eclipse glasses. That would be cool to check out. It's kind of a cool thing. I don't get overly excited about it. I've seen an eclipse before when I was a kid, a total eclipse, and there's been other eclipses too, but a total eclipse is kind of rare for sure. But as far as the cicadas go, I know we're supposed to have 2 hatches of cicadas this year, but I don't know that really affects us much. I mean, I know there are different kinds. I don't know, honestly. I like cicadas just fine, so they don't bother me. And I live in town, so it's not that bad. I mean, we still get cicadas, but I think it's kind of cool to hear them at night in the summertime. It's just, I don't know, sounds cool to me. So I'm not too worried about it. I know that they're, you don't want to let your dog eat too many of them. Dogs love them. Emma says, question, could they be caught and fed to the quail? The cicadas? I don't think a quail would eat a cicada. They're awful big. I mean, cicadas half the size of the bird. I mean, maybe not quite. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I think they're way too big for the quail to be eating. I don't think that's going to happen. Joe Sandy says, I can't ever find it except on Amazon. What are we? Oh, you're talking about the coated wire. Yeah, don't stress if you can't find it. It's fine. And, look at it this way. If you put regular hardware cloth down and then you come across coated, all you're doing is replacing the floor. So it's not that big a deal. You're going to be fine. I don't even use coated wire. And like I said, I don't have any problems. It works fine. And then we get this question every once in a while. This is from Vernon. It says, thoughts on fermenting feed. Is it really worth it? In my opinion, no. I don't think it's worth it at all. It's a lot more work than what I'm doing right now, so I don't do it. Fermented feed, if you're really fermenting it, it does have health benefits. It's got lactobacillus bacteria, the same stuff that's in like apple cider vinegar and yogurt, sauerkraut, if it's not been canned, if it's, just fermented sauerkraut, all those things. And that's good gut bacteria. I mean, that's good for you. But at the same time, it's not magical. I don't think they need it. I don't think it's really that beneficial. I don't see it adding. I mean, it's not like I have all these problems that I don't have any problems. I don't know what fermented feed's supposed to do. Makes your bird healthier. Well, my birds are plenty healthy. So, I don't think it's worth putting the extra effort into. But if you want to, go ahead and do it. No problem. But it's not my deal. S.O. Swanson says, if you catch them and chop them up, they're much too large for the quail. Yeah, that's kind of that's a horrible thought. It's catching cicadas and chopping them up for the quail. Reactiverse says, this is a huge ask, but are you able to identify my bantam chicks? Is it the last video on my channel? I don't know anything about bantam. When you say identify them, I'm not sure what you're asking me to identify on them, but I don't know anything about bantam chickens, so I'm not sure that I can do much to help you out with that. I might check it out though. Reactiverse. Is that your YouTube channel name? That must be you on YouTube. Let me pull that up and see what we got going on here. Is this you? This is probably not you. This is a channel with a bunch of, I think it's reacting to music or something. I don't know if that's you. So I'll wait and see. David Lister says, Chris, do you ever incubate your chicken eggs? We have 50 of our own eggs in the incubator. Other than timing, anything else that we need to watch out for? No, these are meat chickens. They're not egg-laying chickens, so I don't ever get chicken eggs from them. They grow to 8 weeks, get 5 pounds. I process them, put them in the freezer. So I don't have chicken eggs to incubate. I have incubated chicken eggs before. It's the same process, just timing. That's it. There's nothing different. Jacob says, I still have to get my brooder box ready soon, and I've been looking at the heat plates versus a heat lamp. Any input on it? I have never tried a heat plate. I know lots of other people have, so they can probably give you some feedback in here, and I hear that they do just fine. But I've never used one, so I can't really give you any feedback on them. Quail for You says, I have a question. Do people really eat quail eggs fully developed raw? Fully developed? No, I don't think so. Verna says, Flex Seal works great on uncoated wire. Oh, I guess you could. Yeah, well, Verna's saying something too. David Lister, Chris can't eat chicken or can't have chicken roosters. Yeah, I live in town, so I can't have roosters. That's another thing. And there's George says, Jacob, I use heat plates for quail, works fine. I knew somebody would have some advice. Emma says, wow, I didn't know that they'd be that big. Are you not familiar with cicadas? I assumed you were, but I don't know. Cicadas are pretty good size. I mean, they're about that long. Let's take it back. They're about that big whenever they hatch out of the little thing you see crawling up the trees. That's the kind of the cocoon stage of them, I guess, or something. You always find the empty shells sticking on the cage. And I found a few of those before they hatched out. We've caught those and put them in a jar, and it's kind of cool to watch them come out. It's like a butterfly. They come out kind of all shriveled up, and then they just kind of expand, and their wings flip out. And I don't know. Cicadas are pretty cool to me. Verna says, Jacob, I use brooder plates because I'm afraid of the fire. And I was raising my quail in an apartment. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Emma says, fermented feed every now and then can be beneficial, but can be a lot of work on the front end if you're doing it regularly. Yeah, that's kind of my thought too. And then Joe Sandy says, good idea, Verna. Did you try it? Spray on or brush on? Hey, there's Andy Rabbit. Good to see you. And Witch Doctor says, good evening. We just got home and logged in. Well, you made it on time. Thanks for joining us. Joe Sandy says, quails for you. Yes, it's called balut. But balute's not raw. Balut is cooked. I mean, Verna's tried it. She can tell you more about it. Yeah, you got the, I'm not going to eat any balut. That's not my deal. I'm not a picky eater, but that's where I kind of draw the line. Mike says, is a pellet, David says, wait, hang on. I'm sorry. I got to back up first. I'll get to yours, Mike. David says, Verna's place, or Vay's place, sorry, eat them their roos. Yeah. Well, I mean, these are straight run chickens I got this time. Usually I get males because the males grow out faster, but we're processing them long before they ever start crowing or anything. Mike says, is a pellet gun a reasonable option for dispatching rabbits? Yeah, it can be. I've used both a .177 and a 22 caliber pellet rifle to dispatch. I highly suggest a 22 caliber pellet rifle. It's way more efficient. And that actually worked pretty well. So it's not a bad option. Emma says, not raw, though, they boil them. Yeah, exactly. The balutes. They don't eat them raw. They cook them. But Verna says, I've eaten balut. You can see it on my channel over a year ago. Yeah, I don't want to watch that, honestly. No offense, Verna. I don't want to see anybody eating balut. It's just not my deal. Gunkling Palin says, I got to tell you this story, too, actually. Now I'm talking about balutes. So, I do a little bit of video work and a little bit of photo work on the side. I had this wedding venue that I got set up with that needed some photos taken and needed a website built, and I did that for them. Super nice people. They're from Vietnam. They came over from Vietnam, so thick accents and just like I said, super friendly people. It was a really good deal because they needed a lot of help. I made a little extra money on the side. It worked out great. It was a great thing. But anyway, I was talking to them one night and I was telling them I raised quail, and they were all excited about that. Oh, quail. So I took them some quail and gave them some quail. And I was asking about balut. I said, do you guys eat balut? Because, I know it's big in Asian countries. And the wife, she didn't know what I was talking about. The guy, he knew what I was talking about. He said something to her in Vietnamese, and she looked at me and said, oh, no. So it's not that popular everywhere. Let's put it that way. Gunkling Palin says, I'm expecting some breast chickens in a couple of days. Can't wait to get them. Best tasting chicken ever and pretty good layer as well. Over 250 eggs a year. Yeah, I've heard good things about them. I may try them someday. I don't know. Reactiverse says, that's me. It's a reaction channel. So lately I've been posting quail videos. Oh, okay. So that is your channel. You do reaction videos and quail videos on the same channel? Interesting. I'm not seeing anything on there about the quail, but who knows? Let me hit your videos. All I see is reaction stuff. So I don't know. I'm missing it or something. Calvin Riggins says, "Does quail make a lot of noise in a close neighborhood?" I mean, they make noise. The roosters crow, but it's not like a chicken rooster. They sound like songbirds. So, chances are it's probably not going to be a problem. Tell your neighbors you got them, and they'll probably be okay with them. My neighbors, it doesn't bother my neighbors at all. Of course, I have a little bit more room than most people do when they live in the city. But even my one neighbor that lives back, his backyard, his fence backs right up to my quail hutches. It was a long time before he ever realized I had quail. And one day I just happened to be out there doing something, and he was out there. He had his back gate open. He's got a big privacy fence. So he had his back gate open, and, he came out and he said, "What do you got back here?" And, introduced himself, and I introduced myself. Hadn't met him before, but it'd been a long time, and that he'd lived there. Anyway, he comes out and he says, "What do you have here?" And I tell him, I got some quail, and I showed him to him. He says, I kept hearing birds, and I just thought it was birds for the longest time. And then I saw you had some cages and stuff, and I thought, well, you got to have something back here. He didn't know what was. So it wasn't a big deal. It didn't bother him at all. And my guess is it's probably not going to be that big of a deal. Now, if you get a whole bunch of roosters, when they first come of age, they're going to be pretty noisy. They'll do a lot of crowing. But again, it doesn't sound like a chicken, crow, a chicken rooster crow. It's a lot more songbirdish, so it's not usually nearly as annoying. But they'll calm down after a while. Reactiverse says, "My latest video is 3 minutes of new bantams roaming around." Well, I'll have to check it out later. But again, I don't think I can help you out with that because I don't know anything about bantam chicks. Chris says she's referring to balut, and yes, the Asian and Philippine community apparently really like them. I think Myshire mentioned it. Yeah, I know Myshire does. He does a lot of business for balut. He's talked about it with me before. And he has a pretty good market for it, I believe. Emma says, "I'm in UK, Chris. I'm not familiar with them. Saw it online and found it fascinating." You're not familiar with balut? Is that what we're talking about? I think that's when you said I'm not familiar with them. It's hard for me sometimes. You're going to have to be a little bit more explanatory. Sorry, I got dust on my nose or something. Sometimes whenever you make a comment and you say I'm not familiar with them, like I know we're just continuing the conversation, but I've already responded to a bunch of people, and it's hard for me to know what are we talking about. So I think that's what we were talking about, the balutes. You saw it online and found it fascinating. Yeah, well, go watch Verna's channel. She tried them. But yeah, it's not my deal. No, I don't, not for me. Don says, "Move the brooder out of the rabbitry to the barn. Too much of a mess in the house." Yeah, I don't blame you. Out to the rabbitry in the barn. There we go. I don't blame you. Yeah, I prefer to have my brooder boxes outside too. I've got the chickens indoors, but that's just going to be for a day or two until my nose itches. My grandma would say that means you're expecting company. So yeah, I prefer to have my brooder boxes outside too. These guys are just in it for a day or two. Probably, it's Thursday, so they're in it today. I'll probably move them out like Saturday morning because I'll have time to deal with it without having to worry about work. Maybe tomorrow evening. I don't know. Tony says to Joe Sandy, "I get my coated wire from Home Depot, 2 foot by 50 foot, 16 gauge black PVC coated welded wire with 1 inch by 1/2 inch wire mesh." Still pretty expensive though, isn't it? Andy Rabbit says, "Verna's Bay's place has a video on eating the fully developed quail egg balut." Yep. Vernon says, spray on Flex Seal. There you go. Yeah, and if you are going to spray that on, and that's the point too, I think Tony mentioned he's getting 1 by 1/2 inch mesh wire, but it's coated. If you're going to do coated wire, you need to go, like I use like 1/2 inch mesh hardware cloth. You really need to go like 1 inch by 1/2 inch if you're going to do coated, because that adds gauge to it. It takes away from otherwise you're going to have all kinds of problems with the manure just piling up inside the cage and not going through the holes in the cage. Andy Rabbit says, "Hey guys." Okay. Hey to you. Steve says, "Mike B, that's what I use." So you use the What is it? I don't know. I've lost my beat. I don't know what we're talking about anymore. I'm sorry. David says, regarding locusts, I would be more worried your them eating your veggie. Oh, locusts. We're not, quail. We weren't talking about locusts. We're talking about cicadas. But yeah, okay. What he's saying is, regarding the locusts, I would be more worried about them eating your veggies than your quail eating them. And if they were locusts, yeah, that would be a problem. But it's cicadas is what we're talking about. They're not the same thing. Cicadas are not really a problem when it comes to eating stuff, eating your vegetables or anything like that. It's not an issue. But good thought. There, Verna placed the link to her video of eating the balut. You guys go check it out. I can't do it. Verna says, if you like Chinese egg drop soup, then you might like them. You might. I'm not going to find out if I do or not. Joe Sandy says, Tony, thank you. I found the 2-inch, but unfortunately I found the 2-foot, but unfortunately I need 3-foot. That's frustrating, didn't it? Click latest is what it says. Well, I clicked on, there we go, latest. Yeah, I'm on the latest videos. Is it the Reactiverse? Is that your channel? Is that the Reactiverse? Because all I see is a bunch of reaction videos. The last one was posted 1 day ago, and it says Metal Drummer reacts to Spirit Box Blessed Me official music video, first time hearing it or something like that. Emma says, Vey, it could taste like heaven, but it's the thought of it and what it is that freaks me and weirds me out. Yeah, I don't blame you. I did hear that it tastes like chicken soup, though. Yeah, I'm not going to find out. I'm with you. I'm not eating fully developed bird. No. Quail for you says, I've been watching your channel grow for almost 2 years. How does it feel having all those subscribers now? It feels pretty good. I kind of feel bad because I've been doing YouTube a long time, and I've been covered just about every topic I can. I come to a point where I haven't done a video in a couple of weeks because I just don't have a topic. Well, that's part of the reason. The other part was last week was Easter. I was busy. The weekend before, I don't really have an excuse. The weekend before that, I was out of town. I was busy. So, but yeah, I've been slowed down on videos, so I kind of feel guilty. I got all these subscribers now, and I'm not producing as many videos as I used to. I'm not responding to comments because I just can't keep up with them all anymore. But it is nice. It's nice to have all those subscribers, all those people that found my videos helpful. Jacob says, does anyone have an automatic watering system for their rabbits? I was wondering what cups work best. You don't want to use cups for your rabbits. You want to use watering nipples. And I've got videos on my channel. You can go check out about the automatic watering system for the rabbits. Just look up like water rabbit nipples or something like that, and you'll find them on Amazon. In fact, my Amazon shop, I've got them in there. So you can check, like in my videos, not the lives, but the regular videos, in the description, there's a link to my Amazon shop. You can go there. You can find the rabbit nipples. Now, you will have to train your rabbits to use those if they're not used to them, but you don't want to use like a plastic cup. They'll just chew them up. To train your rabbits to use them, if they've never used them before, the best way to do that, it's not terribly difficult, but you do need to train them to use them. So the way they work is they've got a little nipple in them. You push on it and water comes out. And so the rabbits will get pretty thirsty after, a day with no water, and you push that and they'll come up and lick the water off of it. So what I found, it's hard to get them to realize they need to bite down on that to get water out of it. So what I do is I hold it right there at the cage, push the button, let them start licking the water, and then I start to pull it away. And usually when I pull it away, they'll grab a hold of it to pull it back in. And when they do, they bite down on it and the water comes out. And then usually once, twice of that, they figured it out. They're fine. Once they learn, you don't have to worry about training the babies or anything. The babies will learn by watching mom. But you do need to train them to that. Don't just stick them on there and walk away, because they won't figure it out on their own usually. Andy says, I was late, so I'm asking Chris, is that meat chickens you have in the brooder behind you? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I talked about them already, but that's okay. Yeah, 40 Cornish cross chickens. I ordered last week. I found a deal through Tractor Supply with Hoover Hatchery, I believe it is. It was 40 straight run for $90. So that's not bad. That's like $2 something a bird, $2.30 a bird or something like that. I don't need 40 birds. That's really too many for what I don't have. My tractor is really about 25 to 30 is about as much as I really feel real comfortable putting in there. But 40 birds was cheaper than buying 30 birds. 30 birds was like $109. 40 was 90. So go figure. Some kind of special deal they had through Tractor Supply, I guess. But anyway, so I ordered them last week. They came in today. So we got them in there. I'll do some videos on these, give you guys updates on them as they go. I've done videos on Cornish cross from start to finish, so you can check those out if you need to. But I will do some videos and show you these guys. Probably this weekend I'll get them in video. David says, Vern's Vase Place, I have a friend who is married to a Filipino. How are we doing on time? Oh my gosh, 4 minutes left. We got to hurry now. David says, Vase Place, I have a friend who is married to a Filipino. I gave them a couple of dozen quail eggs, and she made egg drop soup. Yeah, that sounds good. I like egg drop soup just fine. Reactiverse says, oh, okay. To me not being able to find your video. Yeah, I'm sorry. I think that's your channel. I just can't find them. Andy Rabbit says, Jacob, I use water nipples for my rabbit watering system. I have too. I haven't been doing that lately. Since I moved them out there, I've just got bowls out there for them. But yeah, I could definitely. Oh, Emma says, I was referring to cicadas being unfamiliar to me. Not. Okay, gotcha. Sorry. Got distracted by the rest of the comment. Yeah, the cicadas. You're not familiar with cicadas. Okay, now that makes sense why you were saying, like, I didn't know they'd be that big. I think that was you. Maybe it wasn't you. I don't know. But yeah, cicadas, well, it's a common thing here. I mean, we got them all over the place here. There are different species of them, and some parts of the country are different than here. So what you see online about them, or what you've seen about them probably was the 17-year hatch or something like that. I mean, yeah, there'll be more, but it's not here is not going to be as bad as some other places. I think some southern states, like when that happens, they're just everywhere, all over the place. It's probably not going to be that way here. We get cicadas every year. I mean, all the time. They're all over the place. They make all kinds of noise at night, that kind of sound, and you probably heard them in movies before. It's a common nighttime summer sound. Emma says, or you have an itchy nose. Yeah, my nose is itching for some reason, and not now, but it was. Let's see. Verna says, I thought if your nose itches, Chris, it means you're going to kiss a fool. Well, my wife might, because I'll kiss her goodnight. But no, I've never heard that. It's always been you're expecting company. Andy Rabbit says, watering system, I have vinyl tubes and attached to the nipples. That's what I do too. S.O. Swanson says, Mrs. Redneck is not a fool. No, she's not. I don't know. She married me. I mean, but, other than that. RBL Jackson says, just got in. How's it going, everyone? Looks like you got a fresh hatch back there. Well, it's meat chickens, actually. The meat chickens came in the mail today. So I wasn't home. My wife had to go get them from the post office and then get them all set up. So I told her just put them in one of those plastic brooders. I wasn't planning on being here until Saturday, so I don't have the brooder outside ready to go yet. Let's see. Tony says 50 foot of that coated wire is $65. Yeah, it's a little high. Jacob says to Andy Rabbit, do the kits learn to use the nipples fairly easy? That's my main concern with the nipples. Yeah, they do. They just pick it up from their mother and they do fine. I think we're out of time, aren't we? Yeah, we're right out of time. So I'm going to miss some of these things, I think. But Jacob says, Chris, why not use cups? They have metal ones they couldn't chew. I've been reading that they drink more water in crocks and bottles. So that's why I'm thinking of the metal cups for the Rent-A-Coop. Oh, I don't know. I've never seen the metal cups. I mean, if they have metal cups for you, go ahead and try them and see how they work. Andy says, when I buy a rabbit, I always remember to ask what type of waterer they use. Yeah, me too. I always ask that because if you've got, the nipple waterers and they're not used to drinking out of them, you're going to have to train them to them. All right, guys, I got to wrap this one up. Oh, you posted a link for me. What was this link to? Oh, see, I think I was on the wrong channel. I was on the Reactiverse, not Reactiverse. Okay. Is that you? Both of them you? Can't tell. I'll have to check later and see. Thank you, Verna, for posting that. I appreciate that. I'll check on it. But yeah, I gotta wrap this one up. So should be back next week, next Thursday. Don't see any reason why I wouldn't be. And hopefully we'll see you guys all then. So thanks for joining me tonight. I appreciate it. And we'll see you next week. As always, God bless.